Our bullpen, when healthy, is slated to be one of the best in baseball. However, right now, it's not healthy. Hello, my name is Jake from You Love to See It, and today we are going to finally round out my 2024 projection series. This is the 16th video I've made for it. We're going to talk about the bullpen today, which right now is in kind of a state of flux. We've had a bit of unfortunate injuries in spring training so far, most namely Matt Brash. As of a tweet today when I'm recording this, he is starting to do long toss and may start throwing off a mound soon. And we also have Gregory Santos, who we acquired from the Chicago White Sox this winter. He is also having some trouble. He hasn't even started throwing yet. But that's two very big spots in the bullpen that probably not going to be ready for opening day and hopefully just later on in April. And that leaves a lot of spots that are open for some guys to try to make waves with the team. Guys like Carlos Vargas, Tyson Miller, Trent Thornton, Austin Voth. As for the projections that we're going to go over today, I'm going to focus squarely on the guys who are pretty much for sure going to be in the bullpen for the whole year. Today we're going to cover Gabe Speier, Taylor Saucedo, Ryan Stanek, Gregory Santos, Matt Brash, and Andres Munoz. And we will start this video talking about Gabe Speier, who last year had a pretty good year for us. Outside of Taylor Saucedo, he is basically our only lefty that we had, and he had a great year. His 2023 stat line shook out at 54.2 innings pitched, a 3.79 ERA, 64 strikeouts, 1.06 whip, and 0.6 FWAR. A pretty good stat line for a guy who had kind of a mix of low leverage innings and high leverage innings, and he was really hot at the end of the year. Per Baseball Savant, last year he was the best in the league at chase percentage at 39.7, and he was elite in K percentage, walk percentage, and ground ball percentage. The only problem with this game is he was getting hit hard. He did have a pretty high average exit velocity, but otherwise Speier was a great addition to our bullpen and he did pretty well. Now going into 2024, he's projected to pitch in 52.7 innings pitched. I don't know what 0.7 is, that's not a thing, so Fangraphs figure that out. 3.76 ERA, 52 strikeouts, a 1.14 whip, and 0.2 FWAR. He has a decline in his whip, his strikeouts, and his FWAR. However, his ERA is a tad bit better, and overall, when I look at the stat line, I am totally fine with it. This is a serviceable reliever, someone who I think will be able to go to in high leverage spots. To me, he's still probably a little bit over Taylor Saucedo when it comes to trust in those high leverage innings, but I'm excited to watch Gabe Speier pitch this year. I know that some other players have pretty much said that he's one of the underrated guys in our bullpen, so I'm excited to see what he does in 2024. But let's move on to the other lefty in our bullpen, Taylor Saucedo, the hometown guy. He's a fan favorite at this point, especially over the offseason. He started Twitch streaming. I mean, he's just a really accessible guy for our fans to love. In 2023, he had a decent year in a Mariners uniform. His stats shook out at 47.2 innings pitched, a 3.59 ERA, 43 strikeouts, 1.34 whip, and 0.2 FWAR. And a majority of last year, he was getting low leverage innings, but towards the end, he was starting to get put in those high leverage spots, and he was coming up pretty big for us. And if you look at his Savant profile, he is pretty elite in a lot of categories. And basically, when you look at this, he is getting a lot of weak contact. As far as what Taylor Saucedo is going to do in 2024, Zips is projecting him to take a bit of a step back. 49 innings pitched, a 4.22 ERA, 49 strikeouts, 1.31 whip, and 0 FWAR. I certainly hope this is not the year that Taylor has, because if this is the stat line he's going, it's going to be probably kind of hard to keep him in the bullpen with everyone that's knocking on the door. And personally, I have a lot of faith in Taylor Saucedo and his stuff. I do think he is a leader in that bullpen, which I know isn't a stat that you can really categorize. However, I do think it's still important. So far, he's been absolutely nails in spring training, and I just really want this guy to succeed in a Seattle Mariners uniform. As I said, he grew up a Mariners fan. Since we can't sign Blake Snell, I would like at least one hometown guy to be able to live out his dream. Next, we're going to look at our newest addition to the bullpen, and that's going to be Ryan Stanek. Now, Stanek is a veteran in the MLB, and in 2022, he had a absolutely phenomenal year. 2023, not so much. If you want a bit more in-depth look at Ryan Stanek, I do have a video that you can check out. I think the card's going to be up there. His 2023 shook out at 50.2 innings pitched, a 4.09 ERA, 51 strikeouts, a 1.24 whip, and 0.1 F4. Stanek is known as a big strikeout guy. Last year, his K/9 dipped by 1 when you look at his 2022 numbers. And I do worry that we may be seeing signs of decline, and that may be why we were able to get him for a bit cheaper than we probably should have. But if there's any organization that's going to revive Stanek, it's going to be the Seattle Mariners. Some good things about his game is he had a high whiff percentage and an above average barrel percentage. In 2024, he's projected to pitch in 52.3 innings with a 4.13 ERA, 57 strikeouts, a 1.36 whip, and 0.1 F4. So he's basically projected to decline even more. But I feel like we have to have some faith in our pitching lab, and what they do well is they identify what pitches work and tell him to throw it more. And for Stanek, that's pretty much the case. His slider is not a good pitch, so they need to focus on the other two in his arsenal. So I'm hoping that we don't see this decline for Ryan Stanek in 2024, and hopefully just at least a bit of an improvement from 2023. But let's move on to the back end of our bullpen, the three-headed dragon, starting with the first head being Gregory Santos. We acquired Gregory Santos from the Chicago White Sox this winter. A lot of people are super hyped about Santos being a Mariners uniform, myself included. If you want a bit more of an in-depth look into Gregory Santos, you can check out my video about him. It's going to be in the top corner again. In 2023, he's projected to have 66.1 innings pitched, a 3.39 ERA, 66 strikeouts, a 1.30 whip, and 1.6 F4. But if you want a good idea on who Gregory Santos is, look at the Savant page. Absolutely ridiculous. Unfortunately, Gregory Santos is not going to be making it for opening day. However, I hope that he is going to be able to join the club in April. And if he does, I think he's going to dominate. And Zips is sort of projecting that as well. In 2024, he's projected to pitch in 69.3 innings, a 3.38 ERA, 79 strikeouts, a 1.15 whip, and 1.0 F4. So an even better year in 2024 than in 2023. And for him to have 79 strikeouts and only 70 innings pitched means dude is going to be getting a lot of whiffs and a lot of Ks. A really good improvement on his whip from 1.3 to 1.15. And overall, if we get the stat line from Gregory Santos, I'm super happy, and our back end of our bullpen is looking absolutely lethal. Now let's get into the second head of the three-headed dragon, and that is going to be Matt Brash. Unfortunately, also a bit delayed and probably not going to be ready for opening day. However, he is further along than Gregory Santos at this point. In 2023, Matt Brash was the MVP of our bullpen, putting up a stat line of 70.2 innings pitched, a 3.06 ERA, 107 strikeouts, 1.33 whip, and 2.1 F4. And I just want to point something out and repeat it: 107 strikeouts in 70.2 innings pitched. We already know that his stuff is absolutely insane, and there's been major league players who have reiterated that he's one of the nastiest pitchers to face in the whole entire league. And I'm really hoping that his arm issue in spring training is not going to develop into anything more, because that would be a really huge blow to our bullpen. Because last year he was easily our best reliever. He was over Andres Munoz. But thankfully, it looks like there's a bit of a positive outlook on his rehab right now, because in 2024, we're going to need him. And his stat line per Zips is going to be 75.7 innings pitched. Once again, don't know how 0.7 works, but there's that. 3.57 ERA, 101 strikeouts, 1.29 whip, and 0.9 F4. So a couple things to note. First, this is overall not as good of a season as 2023. It does project him to pitch even more innings than last year, which I think very unlikely, mainly due to the spring training injury. He's not going to be ready for opening day. He'll dominate in the K department, over 100 strikeouts and 75 innings pitched. I hope that he can replicate his 2023, and I do think he has a really good chance of doing that. His stuff hasn't gotten worse. But let's end off the last head of the three-headed dragon with Andres Munoz. Andres Munoz had an interesting 2023. His stat line was great. His 2023 stat line shook out at 49 innings pitched, a 2.94 ERA, 67 strikeouts, a 1.27 whip, and 1.3 F4. To note, 49 innings pitched is not very much, especially with how often we would like to use Munoz. And that was partially due to a deltoid strain he had in early April. So far, he's been healthy this spring. We're going to hope it stays that way because we really need him. And in 2024, he's projected to have a really good year per Zips. 58.7 innings pitched, a 2.91 ERA, 89 strikeouts, 1.06 whip, and 1.0 F4. And right now, this is the best overall season that's projected to be in the Seattle Mariners bullpen. It's projecting him to have about 25-ish saves as well, so it's pretty much saying that he should be our closer. And before the Matt Brash injury, I probably would have made the case that I would prefer Brash to be in the closer role. However, with his injury now, it makes sense. And the main reason I felt that way is because it felt like in the high leverage spots that Munoz was in, he was having a bit of a rough time. But like I said, his 2023 stats didn't really reflect that. So not sure if I just saw something wrong, but there you go. I do think that Andres Munoz has a very good shot at being our best reliever in the bullpen this year. But that's going to do it for this episode of the projection series. We have finally rounded out. This is the finale. There's going to be no more from here on out. But I'd like to hear from you. Comment down below what you think about these bullpen projections and how you think it's going to do in 2024. And once again, you can like the video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it very much. That's going to be it for me, and I will see you in the next one.